On the 25th of December last month, a civilian plane crashed at Aktau in Kazakhstan. 38 people lost their lives out of 67 passengers on board. And since then, many questions have been raised about what might have caused this horrific incident. So in this video, we will examine various scenarios regarding how this plane crash may have been occurred. In one side, Russia reported that the crash was caused by a bird strike, which could have led to an engine failure. But in the other side, there are multiple reports indicating that the plane may have been struck by a Russian Pantsir missile system, with video evidence supporting this claim, as detailed later in the video. If this is your first time watching me, please do not forget to like and subscribe. We would appreciate it so much. So, let's dive in. Azerbaijan Airlines flight J28243 was on its way from the Azerbaijani capital Baku to Grozny, the capital of the Chechen Republic in Russia, when it faced a critical situation mid-flight. The aircraft had to execute an emergency landing approximately 3 kilometers or about 1.8 miles away from Aktau. And Aktau is a city located on Kazakhstan's eastern Caspian seashore. This incident led to the plane crashing on the opposite side of the Caspian Sea, following what was described as an emergency maneuver. The nearest Russian airport along the aircraft's planned flight path was in Makhachkala, which is the capital of Dagestan. The Embraer A-Jet family, consisting of narrow-body, short to medium-range twin-engine jet airlines with a seating capacity of 114. It is designed and manufactured by the Brazilian aerospace company Embraer. Let us now explore two possible scenarios behind this crash. In the first scenario, Russian authorities alleged that a bird strike caused the crash. This supposed bird strike triggered an engine explosion, which severely impacted the plane's hydraulic systems. The loss of hydraulic fluid made it impossible for the plane to maintain altitude, leading to a steep descent and unfortunately the crash. But in the second scenario, we have a detailed timeline. Around 10:43 a.m. Kazakhstan time, which corresponds to 5:43 GMT, Russia's Rostov Air Traffic Control Center received a signal indicating that the flight crew had decided to divert the flight to Aktau due to adverse weather conditions in Baku and Makhachkala. And by the way, Makhachkala is a city in Russia's Dagestan region. So at 10:53 a.m., the Rostov flight director informed the Aktau flight manager that an oxygen tank in the passenger cabin had exploded. This explosion reportedly caused the passengers to lose consciousness, prompting the crew to request immediate medical assistance upon landing. So, emergency response teams were swiftly mobilized in Aktau airport in preparation for the aircraft's arrival. At 11:02 a.m., the pilots established contact with Aktau airport's air traffic control tower. But despite their best efforts, the crew faced significant difficulties during the descent, and they attempted to land twice, but they were unable to maintain altitude or stabilize the aircraft. And tragically, at 11:28 a.m., the communication with the crew was lost, and moments later, the plane crashed into the ground. But wait a second, if the plane truly needed a medical crew, it would have chosen one of the airports in Chechnya. Why would it flee towards Kazakhstan instead? So, there is something weird at this part. This indicates that the aircraft was likely struck between 10:30 and 10:52 a.m. Kazakhstan time by the Russian anti-air defense system, the Pantsir. This air defense system radar continuously scans the surrounding airspace, detecting and identifying potential threats, such as this Embraer A-Jet. Once a target is identified, the system begins tracking it, using its integrated radar and optical sensors. These components work in a tandem to calculate the target's trajectory, speed, and other essential engagement parameters for interception. Based on the target range, speed, and altitude, the Pantsir system determines the most effective response, whether to launch a missile or engage using its high-speed autocannons. In this scenario, the plane was flying at a much higher altitude, rendering the autocannons ineffective, and as a result, the system opted to launch a missile as the optimal method of engagement. The missile, launched vertically from its sealed canister, uses its advanced onboard guidance system to navigate precisely toward the designated target, and as it nears the plane, its onboard sensors continue to track the civilian aircraft, which in this case is tragically identified as an Azerbaijani civilian aircraft. The missile carries a 25-kilogram high explosive warhead, which detonates upon reaching the target. The explosion occurs near the side of the aircraft, causing catastrophic damage to its tail section. The resulting shrapnel penetrates the fuselage, causing severe thermal and structural damage. This devastating impact destabilizes the aircraft, leading to uncontrollable descent. The severely damaged plane crashes near Akto Airport, resulting in tragic loss of life and a devastating outcome for everyone on board. The Russian Pantsir defense system has proven highly effective in Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict. Reports indicate that the Russian Pantsir systems has managed to neutralize over 400 drones and several military aircraft. But what could have led the Russian defense system to launch a missile at a civilian plane? And the answer is quite simple. All this was a trap set by the Ukrainian intelligence. Let me explain how. According to several reports, during the Russia-Ukraine war, Ukraine frequently launched drones toward Russia through Chechen airspace, and this was due to weaker defense there compared to other regions, where Russia was more heavily stationed. So, when Russia discovered this tactic, it sent part of its air defense systems, including the Pantsir systems, to Chechnya, and instructed them to shoot down any drones in Chechen airspace, but excluding civilian aircraft, of course. However, the Russian military made a big mistake by providing the Chechen forces with jamming devices to interfere with Ukrainian drones. When the Azerbaijani civilian plane was in the air, the radar detected a flying object, so the system automatically directed a missile toward it and fired without hesitation. But why couldn't they determine whether it was a civilian plane or a Ukrainian drone? But the big question is why the pilot himself didn't confirm that it was a civilian plane. And the reason, as I mentioned earlier, is that the jamming devices used by the Chechen forces disrupted communication systems, preventing the pilot from contacting them. So when the pilot saw the missiles heading towards the plane, he immediately changed course, turning sharply to the right to escape the Chechen airspace. But interestingly, it is not the first time Russia has been involved in such incidents. For example, in 2014, during the Russia-Ukraine war over Crimea, a Malaysian passenger plane, Flight 17, that was traveling from the Netherlands to Malaysia, disappeared entirely from the radar upon entering the Donetsk region. It was later revealed that the plane had been shot down by a missile, killing all 300 people on board. Russia denied any involvement, but then President Barack Obama exposed their role at the time. So now, some of you may wonder how Russia and those responsible for such tragedies could be prosecuted. The answer here is so simple. It's individuals, not Russia as a state, are held accountable. But after all, who has the authority to prosecute Russia, a nuclear and powerful country? Of course, no one could. So in the 2014 incident, for example, a Dutch court identified 4 suspects and sentenced them to life imprisonment. So similarly in this case, a Kazakh court will try the suspects involved and the case will be closed. Analyzing the damage caused by the air defense missile strike on the Embraer 190, it is notable that the aircraft's tail section was found upside down in a field. This position provides a view of the left side of the vertical fin and rudder, both constructed from composite materials. On the left side of the aircraft, entry holes from missile shrapnel are visible, while corresponding exit holes can be observed on the right side of the vertical fin and rudder. This pattern indicates the trajectory of the shrapnel as it passed through the aircraft structure. The missiles used are equipped with proximity fuses, which detonate the warhead when the missile is near its target. Upon detonation, the warhead releases a burst of shrapnel that penetrates the aircraft structure. This type of damage is particularly devastating, as the shrapnel often severs critical hydraulic lines in the other essential systems. In the left section of the vertical fin, the shrapnel's intra-impact is evident, causing catastrophic damage that likely led to the loss of control. On the right portion of the rudder, the exit holes where the shrapnel departed from the composite structure are visible. Now moving to the vertical fin, the shrapnel's trajectory can be seen, exiting through the aluminum structure of the fin. Looking at the top of the fuselage, the area near the right side of the vertical fin shows the path where the shrapnel tore straight through. I hope I have managed to give a clear explanation. My heartfelt condolences to those who lost their lives in the accident. So, I think we have reached the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked the episode, please do not forget to like and subscribe. We will appreciate it so much. I'll see you in the next one, and take care.